Well, I strive to be pretty fair to both sides. So I want to make clear I have not heard the other half of DOA's 4 hour tirade. I saw 2 hours, and I think that's representative, but I want to be fair and listen to the other 2 hours. The basic gist is DOA, a self styled radical protester, has alarming questions if Aaron and or 86 and other alleged allies in the anti-Scientology movement can be trusted. And of course, Aaron, responding to all this, went on his usual paranoid rants. But I did find it a little productive in how much he admitted, which was pretty shocking. So, who is Aaron? Well, I think that's the question of the day. I thought most people thought he was a very dedicated anti Scientologist, but now looking at more closely, it does feel like he's been a bit of a parasite. He lets other people do the hard work and then jumps in, basically tries to become a celebrity, makes it seem like he's doing a lot of hard work, but then when we ask, well, what is the work you're doing? It's alarmingly very little, but he does love to invoke the idea of hard work in the movement.
He's also someone who protested with Anonymous back in 2007, 2008. This is a guy who has been fighting the Scientology fight and protesting longer than literally anyone else out there right now, other than Tory Magoo, other than Tory Christman. Okay, this is a guy who's already proven himself in this community.
Well, I don't even know where to begin. First of all, just factually speaking, I've not heard about this guy. So who is Sir Creepus, Crepazoid, Crepa? I don't know. And Aaron's claim that this guy has been fair gamed. Oh my God, his fair gaming is world renowned. I highly doubt that. We have on record people who have been fair gamed a lot worse, whether Jerry Armstrong, Jesse, Doug Scott Kramer, Cooper. There are a lot of cases where people have been fair gamed a lot worse. We're talking decades. We're talking decades. We're not talking 1 decade. We're talking several decades of just relentless attacks. Jobs, careers, families destroyed. So, I mean, if Sir Creepus wants to make that claim and you want to make the claim, that's fine. But thing is, Aaron attacked actively people like Jerry Armstrong. So this whole, you got to respect your elders, Scott, and just respect people who put time in the movements. I'm not buying for a second. That's a complete lie. But then we jump into the heart. What Aaron really doesn't like about DOA is that he is asking questions. And that is not to be permitted. Asking questions is not welcome at all.
My good friend Laura, you're using Laura. You're using Laura because you know the SPtv community and the second gen community really values Laura. And her sticking by your side gives you credibility. And that's really unfortunate. But I'm not going to let the fact that you're using her as a human shield, I'm not going to let that protect you from criticism from me.
So Aaron is admitting he is actively censoring his chat. But he says, oh, I don't know anything about it. I mean, I just got to look at it later. But apparently you cannot use the words DOA or even the letters DOA together because that will be a red flag for his moderators to get rid of you. Well, that's well and nice. And his follow-up to that is to recommend disconnection. If you're new to Scientology, disconnection is when you basically tell people they cannot communicate with this or that person because they are not, quote, friendly to the official church. Now, disconnection is misunderstood. It's not a real legal command here. You can disobey it. In fact, if most people disobey it, the church can't do anything. So it's kind of a weird policy. But in any case, Aaron, describing it before, thought he was horrified how people could be disconnected. But apparently, disconnection is okay if you're doing it against the enemy, which sounds a lot like the Church of Scientology. But see, it's different because the Church of Scientology has a major difference. Namely, it is very pro-woman. It is very friendly to the women's. It is very pro-female. And how do we know this? Because Aaron tells us this is so. And how he tells us this is so is also pretty alarming and disturbing.
To tell you to stop. Someone's got to tell you enough is fucking enough. No one cares who you don't like in the community. What other protester do you see out there just doing content about people in this community they've decided they don't like? Nobody cares. except you whip your audience up. You weaponize your audience against other protesters. It's really destructive, dude.
Well, let me make clear, I'm not defending DOA or the DOA-Laura relationship, which by itself can be considered very toxic and disturbing because Laura isn't exactly the innocent flower she presents herself. She admits straight up she was friends with Danny Masterson for a while and was aware of some of his crimes. Didn't really care. So she was very active in the Hollywood Scientology scene, as was Serge. They were really friendly with these Hollywood celebrity types who were Scientologists, even very rich Scientologists, and made money from them. Quote, now righteous stance against La Poob or the Hollywood scene is kind of cynical. Nevertheless, I do think we have enough with Scott and his relationship with various women that it is disturbing. So I can be disturbed and you can be disturbed. Why is Aaron disturbed at the lying and gaslighting and all that stuff? Because this sounds alarmingly close to what he is doing with Jenna and other women in his past life, where he clearly deceived them, was clearly abusive, and when this was found out, he basically just mounted a propaganda campaign to try to convince people, oh, it's not as it seemed, guys. Oh, no, 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 it's fine. These women want it. Yeah, they want the errands. Was I lying? Was I abusive? Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So why does it matter with DOA but not with you? I don't know. And the idea of weaponizing audiences, yeah, you've done that. You've actively done that now for several years against Rinder, Headley, Jerry, the McLaurys, old guard critics, or just people you dislike. No, he's just being very petty. He wants revenge. So this whole you, Scott, are whipping your audience and weaponizing and attacking my friends in Scientology and just doing the crying thing again. Well, I don't believe it for a moment. Listen, is DOA a monster? Yes, he's been a monster for months and months and months. He's victimized a lot of people. Yeah, I agree, Aaron. He is not to be trusted. The problem is, you're not to be trusted either. So, when DOA was acting like a monster with others, you didn't care. Scott's very murky, ugly past, you don't care. He only refers to it once in this entire video, and even there, he gets things wrong. You're basically upset that this Frankenstein monster you conjured up is turning on you, and you expect us to be outraged or sympathetic or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm not. Clearly, you don't really care about Scott's victims or Scott's crimes. You are seemingly upset that he just is asking questions, which are valid questions about the SPtv Foundation. Where's the money going? Are you being consistent with your own protesting, etc., etc.? And at the end of the day, this is your problem. So if Scott is annoying you and weaponizing his audience by asking questions, well, that's your problem. It's your foundation. You're the president. You handle it. Why the rest of us should get involved? I don't know. Apparently, the rest of us should be upset for reasons, but I don't know. When Scott does something really wrong to people besides you and your friends, yeah, I'm going to warn people, but you and your friends have whipped up and weaponized your audiences and done a lot of ugly things. So the rest of us are just going to sit back and laugh. And that's what I'm going to do.
Is do live streams saying who in this fucking community you've decided are bad. It's got to stop, dude. It's got to stop. And what's extra unfortunate is that you're using, in my opinion, my good friend Laura. You're using Laura.